Hey folks, and welcome to Panzer Campaigns with me, Pee Choo Choo. So, recently I picked up a copy of Panzer Campaigns Sicily, and I've been kind of eyeing the series for quite a long time now, and I finally decided to purchase one of the games and play through it. So, I've kind of decided to make like a video series as I do this. We might play a full campaign of this, or we might just take a look at the introductory scenarios. But anyhow, today we're just really going to give an intro of the game and play through the tutorial, just to kind of explain the game and really gauge the reaction to it, really. So before I do that, I want to explain what the Panzer Campaigns line of games are. These are operational war games, meaning that you don't fight individual battles. You more or less coordinate the individual battles and form them into a campaign. Thus the name Panzer Campaigns. So the odd thing about these, or the unique thing about these games when compared to the other lines of operational games like the Panzer Corps and the TOW3 and all of that, is that John Tiller Software, the people who make this, they put a lot of they make the scale very, very huge. They make it an epic scale. So this is the Sicily scenario. This is the grand campaign for the game, and this covers all of the action on Sicily, and they've done an amazing job here. They've actually built a little topographical map of Sicily, and depending on how YouTube quality looks, I mean, all of these squares are little tiles. So as you can see here, they've pretty much made just an absolutely huge map for players to play on here. So that's one thing. They make these really, really elaborate operational level games, which is rather nice. And the nice thing about these is that they actually simulate quite a lot more so than other games on a deeper level. So we're going to see that a lot today. One of the things that they do is like weather and the time inside the day. The game actually runs on 2-hour turns and 1 kilometer hexes, while this normal strategy games run on like at least 1 day and at least like 5 kilometer hexes for a war game or an operational level game. So yeah, there's definitely a lot there. Even the units, usually inside these games you see them at operational levels, which would be like division or higher, but inside this game you actually see them in battalion or company levels, which are two levels smaller. So you see groups of like 85 men here. So yeah, that's the real specialty of these things. I kind of bought this after playing the Panzer Campaigns iOS / Googeplay app. Googeplay would be for Android, yeah. So yeah, they've actually released this September 21st. It's just essentially the mobile version. I've always been interested in buying this series, but I've taken a look at some of the footage for it, or rather some of the AARs, seeing as how no one else posts videos about this. But yeah, I was rather confused as to how it plays overall. So if you're interested in that, check out the free app. I mean, you can play that in here. Yeah, they release a lot of these games just for the Panzer Campaign series. They have like your standard, European front stuff. You got Normandy, the Bulge, Market Garden. Then you have your like Russian line, which is pretty much Moscow. They did Moscow twice actually. You have Kharkov, Kursk, and Stalingrad, and I think Smolensk, and those are the notable ones, the ones that people typically remember. And then you also have the Mediterranean too. So you have your Tunisia, your El Alamein, your Sicily, and your Salerno, your Tobruk. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of stuff there. Now the one thing about these series is that they're fairly expensive, at being 30 bucks or 40 bucks a piece. I mean, I bought the download only version, so it was only 40 bucks, but yeah, they're fairly expensive. The reason I kind of picked Sicily here was that the Sicily scenario was something that I found more manageable. I mean, playing in one of the huge Russian campaigns, you're dealing with like more than 1,000 units on each side, so I didn't really want to do that. So, we will be looking over the getting started scenario here, which is essentially the tutorial. And for this campaign, oh yeah, I forgot to mention this earlier, but yeah, there's this topographic setting where if you zoom in enough, you can fight on this 3D map, and the elevations actually matter, as opposed to most strategy games where they just give you mountains. I can also put on 3D counters, but then these things look really, really silly, and they also look really, really hard to identify what the heck's going on. So I'm going to leave the mode onto the 3D counters like these. Now, our objective for the day will be to just kind of press up here and take the victory points represented by these yellow hexes of numbers. So yeah. This is the tutorial mission. It's a fictional battle, but I mean it's meant to really teach the player about the gameplay mechanics. And at first this game seems fairly complicated, but once you dig into it, it's actually not that bad. So let's begin. Apparently it is dawn, or rather it is nightfall. You'll see here that down inside the lower right hand corner there's this little meter, just where my date and time would show. And this is actually the time of the day. Like I said, it uses 2-hour turns, so currently it's just before nightfall, and I guess we're starting our turns here. Alright, so we're supposed to capture these objectives weighing in at 300, 200, 100, and 100 points each, and essentially if we capture all of these objectives, we win. Of course, our victory is dependent on losses and kills, right? But for the most part, if we nab all of these victory points, we're probably going to score a minor victory at least, and that's really what I'm aiming for here. So now, let's begin moving our troops around, and let's begin doing stuff with them. So we have 3 different troops right now, or 3 different formations we're commanding. We're commanding the green infantry force over here, the 7th 3rd HQ. So yeah, these are the infantry division. We have the U.S. Provincial Corps over here, which is Supreme Command, and we also have the Blue Corps over here, which is the 2nd CCR Armored, which have some recon units out here, some mobilized infantry, and some tanks over here. And we also have a bridge engineering team represented by the orange engineers over here. You'll need to know NATO symbols to play these war games. That's just kind of an essential thing. I'll give people like a general rundown right now, just so that we can continue without any major problems. But let's see. These boxes with X's are infantry squads. The circle with the like donut-shaped thing are tanks. Engineers are the sideways E. Recon is the tank with a stripe in it. And motorized infantry are the infantry boxes with the little 2 stubby things on the end of the counter. Really, anything mobilized, anything on trucks or wheels will have the little stubby things on the end of their counters. And obviously HQs are HQs. So what we're going to do here is that we're going to try to force away all of these Italian defenders and try to press up into these victory point locations before the Germans can arrive. The Germans will have these sky-colored units with like a purple unit hex, whilst all of the Italian units have this orangey-colored hexes. So with that said, what I want to do here is that I want to advance by roads and I want to advance by bridges, because our tanks need the bridges to cross the rivers on the map here. So we want to capture this tile right here, this one defended by 74 men, and we want to capture this one here as well, defended by 75 men, and with the emplacements ahead of it. So what we can do here is that we want to push away the Italian defenders and move forwards, right? What I'm going to do here is that I'm going to use this little radio button. It looks like a frowny face, and I'm going to get our artillery to call in some bombardment onto this bridgehead, where the defenders of this bridgehead. It's going to lay down some fire onto them, but probably not do very much. Inside this 3D map counter, it makes the game, or rather inside this 3D mode, it makes the game look a lot nicer, but generally speaking I'll be playing from this view simply because it's a lot more smoother. So I want to take this bridge, so I'm going to move up our little infantry battalion over here. They have 515 men, as opposed to over here the 67 men, so that's kind of how you tell that. That's really going to be the only thing that you need to keep track of on these counters. You also do need to keep track of their morale, but which is represented by the F and the C here. C units are average, F is abysmal units. Like if you know history, you can just automatically assume that the Italian units are crap to some level or another. So this should be an easy battle. Alright, so what we want to do here is that we want to start pinning down the Italians, and we want to start breaking their lines, and that's really what I'm going to try to do here. How this game works is that you typically want to suppress your enemy, then you want to move in, and then you want to effectively take them out. So over here, I don't need these recon forces over here simply because they serve no purpose as opposed, their only real purpose is really to teach the player about line of sight, something that I already know, so we're just going to switch them off. What I'm going to do here is that I'm going to put some of our men into travel mode, and they can then advance using roads and bridges, so that'll make them faster, and then they'll give them this little bar underneath. So if you haven't noticed already, there is a little side panel over here that I'm not exactly mentioning too much, but nonetheless it plays quite a big role into the game. What the side panel tells us is quite a lot of vital information about the terrain and about what happens to our units. So this side panel tells us a few things. First and foremost, how many formations we have inside the tile, and the other thing is that how much movement they have, how many men they have, their morale, their fatigue, and special equipment that they have. And we can also open up the info panel by using this to see what other stuff, like the fine details about what these units are made out of. So currently we're sitting at about 97% strength, which is indicative of how much firepower we have. Movement 24T, meaning that this unit is in travel mode. When units are in travel mode, you can just sort of picture it as them walking using roads, inside column formations and all that. So with that kind of said, we want to switch these guys out of travel mode in just a little bit when we try to push through these through this bridgehead. So what I'm trying to do here is that I want to knock out these Italian coastal defense courses, command and control, and I want to break them like that. And then I want to push through them. So that while that's going underway, I'll call in some artillery if I can. So while that's going underway, oh, there we go, we've disrupted the enemy formation. We want to get our engineers to push forward too. So engineers are very, very useful in that they can clear obstacles, they can clear mines, and what I've just done is that I have moved our engineers into... Oh, god damn it, are you kidding me? I can't check it? Alright, well anyhow, these tiles with the grey backgrounds, they represent obstacles. In this case, they represent mines, but what I've just done is that I've moved our infantry and our engineers into a tile that contains obstacles, so like barbed wire, and currently I'm just getting them to clear the barbed wire so that we can also use the secondary bridge to push forward. That's really all we had to do this turn. Can I get these units moved forward? These engineers, the bridging company can come up. Let's see, what else can we do? Call in some reinforcements here. Yeah, on turn 2 inside this scenario, you gain some of these allied paratroopers. They'll drop in. I mean, personally, I really don't find them all too useful, but hey, each to their own. Simply because, like, when you do this, for some reason, the paratroopers have a chance to take losses as they drop, and yeah, you'll end up with like 200 losses just because you drop these paratroopers, or rather the game dropped these paratroopers. So yeah, that's kind of that. They can't move on the first turn, so we'll leave them as it is, and we will just continue with the battle. But paratroopers were nonetheless a crucial part into Operation Husky, so I suppose they do have a place here. Alright, so turn 3. Every turn you do get this little command report. It'll tell you a few things that are vital about the scenario. First and foremost, it's a night turn, so visibility is low, but if you assault people when the visibility is low, you do more damage. Core attachment is possible, don't really care about that. Units have been released. Armor, so we get some armor. Units that are isolated, so because paratroopers are usually dropped behind enemy lines, they don't have supply lines, meaning that they're isolated, and that's kind of what happened there. One artillery unit unavailable, meaning that one of our artillery units have used up all of its shells for the last 2 hours and can't fire. 2 units low on ammo, self-explanatory. 8 units disrupted or unbroken out of 12 units checked, meaning that 4 of our units were able to form up. When these paratroopers are dropped, they have very, very low command, so they'll be disrupted, and some of them have formed up now. Some units gained fatigue, some units low on fuel. strategy decision time. This is about rangers and where you want the amphibious invasion to land. We have 3 different options: go deep, which will send them back over here. We have right in the middle, send them inside the middle over here. Exercise caution, and it'll bring it up to our forces, which are advancing through this bridge. I'm going to call it right in the middle because that's exactly where I want our troops to come through. So again, reinforcements arriving panel, drop all of these troops here, and then we can continue. So yeah, obstacles over here are cleared. We can get our troops to move forward. To use bridges, your troops have to be in movement mode or travel mode. So fighting on bridges is very difficult simply because your troops typically suffer quite a lot of casualties when they move through here. So what I want to do is I want our infantrymen to now cross the bridge. There we go. And these guys will advance, and the bridging team will advance down here. From there we can get our mobile guns to move forward as well. So we'll pack up the artillery, move the artillery forward. Drop the artillery, drop the command post, and we should be back in business in just a little while. And we have tanks now, so we're going to rush the tanks to the front. Get our HQ lineup moving too. And that'll be the end of this turn. I mean, I should be playing the game a lot more slower right now, but simply because I've kind of already played the scenario, I know what happens, right? So we can move a little faster like this. Alright, so we're starting to approach these objectives, and we're starting to press the Italians back. I mean, they've kind of retreated on their own initiative, which is a good thing for us. And the Germans are starting to arrive, so what I'll do here is that I'll try to damage these bridges, and we can blow these bridges up later on to slow their advance. What my general strategy for this map, my general strategy for this scenario is simple. You get these paratroopers, which are dropped all the way over here, and I get them to assault this construction battalion, holding down the fort over here, holding down this victory point. I'll get the Rangers to move up and capture the back victory point worth 300 points, and then I'll get the main column to press through the 100 and then into the 200 point victory cap. So that's kind of what we're trying to do here. In the meantime, what I want to do is that I want to move these Rangers, and I want to assemble them all as one cohesive force, and I want them to start fighting for this trench line. The trenches have this green little circle around them, or square around them, and that just denotes that they have better defense, 40% more actually. So with that said, what I'm going to do here is that because we moved our forward observer, this unit right here, close to this trench within sight, so if we check their sight radius, the forward observer can see all of this, and this forward observer can then call in artillery from these ships, and that's what we've done here. We've called in some artillery, and we've effectively smacked the trench. Holy, all the forward observers are gone now. Oh well. Some of these boats you do need a forward observer, some of these you don't for some reason. So, yeah, that's kind of that. What we're going to do here is that we're going to mount an assault onto this tile. Typically what you want to do is that you want to disrupt the attacker or the defender, and then you want to assault them. Simply because when enemy forces are disrupted, they will guaranteed to fall back during an assault, although in this case, because they're also isolated, meaning that they're surrounded, in a sense, they won't fall back, but what it will do is that it'll double up the losses, and that means that next turn this coastal defense koi should be eliminated, and then we can really push forward from there. So likewise, I'm going to commit to an assault. I want to take down their enemy artillery, and because these artillery troops are not too great, I do believe we can assault them and successfully take these guys down, or at least do a lot of damage. Typically one gun will be worth 10 infantrymen, so I'm not too worried about taking a lot of losses over there. And in the meantime, our infantry should move forward. You notice that some of these infantry units are in battalions, whereas some of these infantry units are in these smaller groups of 100 men, and these smaller groups are I think, yeah, we can combine them into a full battalion again. So currently, all I'm trying to do here, drop the HQ,